What's up, guys? It's your boy Mikey C, Mikey J. You might know me as different names, different lingos. I go by Mikey J Cowley on Facebook. I go by Mikey C Training on Instagram. But I wanted to introduce myself and start off by saying thank you for viewing the video. Thank you for coming out, clicking on it. Smash that like button, subscribe, turn on the post notifications so you can see for the next video when it's come out. But ultimately, this whole entire video series is going to be about depression and how I have combated and how I continuously live my day to day trying to beat it. So I want to start off by saying I'm not a licensed therapist. I'm not a licensed counselor. I am nowhere near that field of expertise. I am simply giving my point of view and what has helped me get over it. So the videos are going to be about what has caused my depression, going into detail with that, how I knew I was depressed, what I physically was feeling, what I mentally was feeling, initially how it took over my life, and how I took it back. So I want to state one more time that I am not a licensed professional and I am not a licensed therapist, or I'm not a licensed counselor. I'm simply just trying to help someone, whoever this video reaches to, let you know that you're not alone in none of this. And we all go through the exact same things, some more worse, more traumatizing than others. So I want to start off by saying that if this video has found its way to you, if it is going to help you, if it is helping you, always, reach out. I'm always here to listen. I plan on bringing other people's into these videos and talk about their challenges and the things that they have battled and how they have overcome it for future videos to come. But I want to start off the entire video by saying thank you one more time, and let's get started. So ultimately, let's get this cracking. What initially triggered my depression was the passing of my mom. And to some people, it's you lost a parent. I got that one a lot. You lost a parent, it happens, it's life. But talking to the bishop at her services, and he stated, he cries for his mom every night, and it's been 20 something years. And my initial reaction was like, I can't do this for 20 something years. But it's okay to miss my mom, and I realize that now. So what my mom passed away from was stage 4 ovarian cancer. What she was diagnosed with was stage 4 cervical cancer. So going into detail with everything, my mom was my best friend. My mom was my everything. My mom was my rock that kept me planted and kept me focused for everything. Whether I was playing football, whether I was in my track and field events, whether I was skateboarding, rollerblading, or BMXing, whatever day I wanted to take, whichever thing to the skate park, my mom was there. Whether it was so many hours at the football field, so many hours at the track meet, or bringing a TV, plugging it into the truck so she can watch her novelas while I was at the skate park. My mom was ultimately supportive of me, of everything, and she supported me 100 on everything that I chose to do. So my mom was my best friend. My mom was the rock. So my mom was diagnosed on February 14th of 2015 with stage 4 cervical cancer. And they gave her about 5 to 6 months to live. We got the phone call February 14th around 6 o'clock. My dad called my sister. We were all home at the time, so my sister kind of just put my dad on speakerphone. and we kind of just huddled around the phone. When everything was said and done and we finally figured out what it was, because that is a whole other story, me and my brother jumped into my sister's car February 15th at 5 o'clock in the morning, and it took us about 22 and a half to 23 hours to drive to Olive Branch, Mississippi, which is a little bit right out of Memphis. So we got there. On the way to Olive Branch, Mississippi, there was only one goal in mind. There was only one thing that me and my brother thought of, and it was be with our mom at whatever cost, no matter what it took. So during the time of February 14th and February 15th of 2015, there was a really bad snowstorm or ice storm, whatever you call it. Things froze from here to there. I still have the pictures of the car when we got to Memphis. But while cars were sliding off into the ditches, and it was very irresponsible of me and my brother to be driving this way, the one thing we had in mind was get to our mom and get there fast. So we finally got there, and it's one of those horror movies. You don't know exactly what you're going to see. You don't know exactly what you're feeling. But as you're walking down this hallway, which was the oncology ward at this hospital, and I'm walking down and I'm like turning to the right and I'm turning to the left, and I'm looking into these rooms, but not trying to be like a nosy person, but I've never been inside an oncology ward, and I'm seeing these people with like breath masks, like oxygen masks, and I'm seeing people with like breathing tubes and bandanas or like do-rags, whatever it is, you want to call them. And they're sitting there and people are like taking care of them, feeding them, stuff like that. And like as we're getting closer to the door, I'm looking in these rooms and it's just making everything more horrifying for me. At the time I was, I believe, about 22, 23-ish, give or take. Don't really remember. But we walk into the room and my mom is unconscious. She just got out of surgery maybe like 3 hours, 4 hours before we walked in. So she was unconscious, and we were in Memphis, Olive Branch-ish, Mississippi Memphis, Tennessee. We were there for about 6 weeks, 6 or 7 weeks, commuting back and forth from the hotel room to the hospital, just commuting back and forth, and then finally the last 2 weeks of our stay in, Memphis / Olive Branch, Mississippi, we were, taking care of my mom for her wound. We were going and, just my mom loved it there. My mom really loved it there. She loved the scenery, the green and all that stuff. But we were there, the last 2 weeks tending for her wound. So, she can fly back and we can get everything started, like her chemo and radiation. So on the way back, me and my brother were brainstorming, like, what can we do to get another month with our mom? What can we do to try and save her life? And I emphasize that because talking to the doctors that were at the hospital were telling us how this type of cancer was preventable if my mom was to diet and exercise and do the things she needed to do to stay healthy, which ultimately, with those words, took over mine and my brother's life. So driving back from, that side, because Olive Branch, Mississippi, Memphis, Tennessee, driving back from there, me and my brother were just like, what can we do? What can we do to try to help, make our mom better? So with that in mind, we were like, let's try to get her healthy. Let's try to get her to exercise, get her to eat right. Let's try to get her strong so we can have another month with our mom. So when we came back, she was back. We were getting things squared away so we can get her into chemo and radiation. Finally, my mom got into chemo and radiation, and the doctor prescribed her a multivitamin to, keep her vitamin levels up, to keep her iron levels up, stuff like that to, keep her healthy throughout the treatments and the sessions. But the one time my mom took it, she threw up a lot. She threw up a lot, like a lot. She didn't even make it to the bathroom. She made it to like the bathroom sink where we were living at, and it took me about a week to unclog it. But going into her following chemo session, she's like, I don't want to get sick no more. I was like, Mom, it was one time. You know what? I was taking a sport multivitamin because I was playing arena football at the time. So I was like, Mom, take this. I take it with my stuff when I work out. I take it when I go to practice. Take this. Let's see if it makes a difference. So my mom took it. And then she got out of chemo. Right after she got out of chemo, we went to go eat. And it was the first time my mom was like, I feel good. I feel okay. So boom, it clicked in my head. I was like, we are going to start a supplement store. We are going to try and help people. And so with that in mind, the goal after that was just to, help my mom get through the treatments and help my mom get through, the radiation and stuff like that. So ultimately, like, just what was starting to trigger the depression was my mom going in and out of like doctor's offices and being told one thing. And it wasn't most of the fact of like losing my mom anymore, because it was more on the frustrating part. It was more of the, one doctor saying this, another doctor saying that. One doctor should have this, one doctor should have done that. So it's just bouncing back and forth from different doctors and different doctors saying this and that. So my mom ultimately beat the stage 4 cervical cancer the first time. And an exact year to date, from February 14th, 2015 to February 14th, 2016 was when she was, in remission. And we were thrilled, we were ecstatic. It was like, honestly, it was the best day of my life, knowing like my mom's gonna be able to live with me. Like I get to have my mom, like I get to have my mom again. But then from February 14th to February 14th of 2017, my mom was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. And then this is where everything like took the turn for the worst. So, because it came back with a vengeance, and it came back hard, and it came back very aggressive. So with one doctor, like, like if we do this, we can basically said we can cut it out of her. We'll take out this, we'll take out that. And my mom would be in a colostomy bag, which we were okay with it if it meant, saving my mom's life. But from the point of her being re-diagnosed to the point of her having that surgery, the cancer spread quick. Very, very quick. And the doctor came out. We dropped my mom off for surgery. We were back in there during prep. We got to the house, had breakfast. Not even 3 hours later, the doctor called and was like, I had to stitch her back up. I couldn't do anything. Please come see me. And yeah, that was that day. So my mom was back out of surgery. So numbers of surgeries that my mom had was too many to count, to do whatever we could to try to get one more month with her. So at the end of this first, she didn't get the colostomy bag like she was supposed to. They just said, it's not gonna work, this and that. So she should be fine. And then going into it with my mom getting worse, my mom started throwing up like black stuff, and like it looked like bio, and like smelled like rotten eggs. And instead of going back to one hospital, we went back to another hospital, and that hospital was like, no, like the cancer's reached the point of where your intestines meet the stomach, and it's getting stuck, so that's why she keeps throwing up. And I don't remember everything, because there's times where you're hearing this stuff and then it kind of just goes like silent, and you're just like dazed, like what is actually going on. So it wasn't until I believe my mom's third surgery, second or I think it was her third surgery, was we took her to another hospital with another specialist, and he took pictures of my mom's insides so he could show us what was cancer and what wasn't. And everything was riddled in cancer. Everything looked like rocks, literally looked like rocks. And he told me, my dad, my brother, and my sister that he was going to give my mom an ileostomy bag. And me being my mom's healthcare provider, I was already getting used to the fact of doing majority of the stuff for her. So like during the process of surgeries, my mom had infected wounds, and my mom had this and had that, and like I never once complained about changing her stuff, her wound care, properly giving her wound care and giving her blood thinners. I never once complained about it, because my mom needed me. My mom was there for me, so I was there for my mom. So I was my mom's healthcare provider. But I'm trying to skip past all of like the story of me taking care of my mom to the points that got me depressed. So it came to a point where the cancer was to the point of like no return, I guess you can say. And my mom was like always having heartburn, and we never knew why, but it was because the food wasn't digesting. And it was at a point where it was extremely painful for my mom. It was extremely painful for my mom to the point where she was screaming to God, asking for her to take her, because why would you let this happen? To the point where my mom woke up one day like mouthful of throw up, and she swallowed it, but some got into her lungs, and like she totally freaked out and called an ambulance and stuff like that. And seeing my mom reach for me while paramedics are trying to get with seeing my mom in so much pain made me question my own faith within stuff. Made me question everything. But she was my mom, and like I did whatever I could to try to make sure I just wanted my mom to be comfortable. I didn't want my mom to hurt no more. I didn't want my mom to be screaming in pain at midnight about, just why can't she just go to sleep and not wake up? That's something no child ever wants to hear their parents say. But I just wanted the pain to go away for her. And I'm very close to like my brother, and I'm very close to my sister and stuff like that. And I guess I was the only one that agreed to kind of like come forward about how all this affected me. But there was nights that I would just like, cry myself to sleep, I guess you can say, because it was my mom. Like, what person wants their parent to go through pain? Like, who wants to see somebody go through that kind of pain? So the damage that radiation also left towards my mom, which is another thing I'm gonna get to, was it fried her hip flexors together. So it was her hip flexors, where your femur goes into your hip, wasn't able to kind of bend. So that was, from what the doctor said, it was fused together. That was because where the cancer was in the radiation. And So like everywhere we would go, my mom would be in pain also because she couldn't sit for long periods of time because the wheelchair was, 90 degrees, perfect posture wheelchair, and it would hurt. She would walk with like a slouch because of her hips bending a certain way. So with all the feelings of anger and confusion of what one doctor's saying, what another doctor's saying, whether we can fix her, whether we can't fix her, the anger, the confusion, the frustration. My mom passed away July 4th of 2018. Through that entire time, I never regretted anything, unlike the things that I tell people. Like, I do regret arguing with my mom over dumb things. Just arguing about where we're gonna go eat, arguing about how fast I'm driving in traffic. Like, if you want to drive, you can drive. That's the only thing I regret. I don't regret anything other than, I dropped everything for mom because it needed to be done. But the day we got the phone call was we were here at the gym and training, and we get a phone call from my sister that mom, like, come see mom now, and kicked everybody out. It was like 8 o'clock at night, and we get there and my mom is just not my mom, like just laying there, and she's just sitting there, and it was the hardest thing having to see my mom just there, couldn't talk, nothing like that. And there was so much more that happened during the years that have passed of my mom being first diagnosed to the day my mom passed away. But I want to hit those things that are still triggered with me. So we were there from like 8 to like 3 o'clock in the morning, and we get a phone call at 5 o'clock in the morning that my mom was gone. And I jump up, get dressed, haul ass over there, and it was seeing my mom laying flat, because she wasn't able to lay flat because of the radiation. It was seeing her lay flat that, like, triggered everything. Like, she wasn't in pain no more. She wasn't in pain no more. Like, she could lay flat without us having to bring an extra pillow to raise her feet. She was my mom, and she was there, and she looked peaceful for once, no more pain. And what made it worse was maybe a week like going into the week of my mom passing away, was me and my dad had a really big argument. Me and my dad had. And after my mom passing, I went from losing one parent to losing two parents, because my dad just cut me off completely. So like, I couldn't talk to him no more. He didn't want to talk to me, and it made the whole situation a lot harder than it had to be. So not only technically losing my mom and my dad cutting me out, having to find homes for my mom's dogs, not knowing what the future lied for that. My mom was a very loving person. My mom rescued 12 dogs. And Some say it was the depression of having the cancer. My mom was always just a dog lover. My mom, always growing up, we had a bunch of dogs always growing up. But it made life so much harder, made the whole situation so much harder, was taking these dogs to a shelter and hearing them scream because they were so used to us. We rescued them, we brought them back from having like parvo and practically dying to the happy-go-lucky dogs that they were. And hearing the screams of dogs that are scared because they're going with a person that they don't know. Like, granted, it wasn't like a shelter. It was a person, like a rescue, like an animal rescue place, and they understood the circumstances, and we talked. We did what we needed to do to get the dogs rehomed, but those were my mom's, unofficial babies. Those were my mom's babies. My mom raised and nursed practically all of them because they were all sick, and made it 100 times worse. And then me and my brother having to clean out the entire house and figuring out what to do with like my mom's diploma and my mom's birth certificate and the newspaper clippings of my mom being found the day she was found, and just the bombardness of emotions of just losing my mom, my dad bailing on me and my brother to help us organize my mom's belongings, to me and my brother having to figure out what to do with my mom's belongings. I was overwhelmed. I was stuck between a pimp and a hard place with emotions. And I kind of just tried to brush it off. And I tried to just, play it cool. And, I had people that depended on me. I had people that, kind of looked up to me, I guess you can say. But the minute I realized that I had depression was the minute I didn't want to wake up no more. I just wanted to stay asleep. I didn't want to get out of bed. I just wanted to stay there. I felt like I had no purpose. I felt like I had no drive. I felt like, would the world be better off if I didn't even belong to it? And I cried a lot. I cried about every day, stuff like that. And certain people that I would try to go and vent to, they'd be like, you need to go see a counselor. And that was their first response. And I'm like, dude, I'm coming to you to talk. I'm not coming to you to be like, you need to go see a counselor. No, I'm coming to you to talk, Let me vent my emotions to you. Like, let me just talk to you. And a lot of people's responses was, you need to go see a counselor. Something's wrong with you. You're sick. Like, let me just talk. Let me talk to you. Let me try to, get these things out. So it went from these feelings of emotion to anxiety, like being laying in bed, and then one minute I feel like I can't. So I apologize. I had to change. It got cold in here. Got a little bit emotional. But what I was feeling was the feeling of anxiety. So like 1 minute I was like laying in bed comfortable, the next I couldn't breathe. I felt like I had 1,000,000 pounds on my chest. I just couldn't breathe. So like I was going from laying in bed to, gasping for air, like what the fuck is going on with me? I apologize. What is going on with me? To walking around a little bit, walking around the block, to walking around 2 blocks, to walking down the street, to walking a mile, to walking 2 miles, to walking till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. That's when I knew something was wrong. I knew it wasn't just you know, everything going on in general. But I knew something was wrong with me, because when I was walking, trying to escape these feelings, I would walk and just stare at the sky and cry and think to myself, like, what is life without my mom? What was life without my parent? And it's, as some maybe like you know, some may not see it the way I did, but like, again, my mom was my best friend. My mom was, my everything back to it. And life without my mom didn't seem right. I would see people laughing, and I would see people all cheerful and joyful, and I would look at them like, dude, why are you laughing? Like, one of the greatest people I've ever met is gone. Like, how can you laugh? And like, I resented people that would complain about their parent. Like, oh, my mom is calling me. And I'm like, bro, you know what I would do just to hear my mom's voice one last time? Do you know what I would do for this? Or do you know what I would do for that? And ultimately, the depression started to take over a lot. Like, I wasn't fully committed to the things I was doing in life. I wasn't fully giving my all towards my clients and stuff like that. Like, I just wanted to sleep. I just had no attitude. I had a very bad attitude towards, just life in general. Like, that, like, I don't give any F's about life type of attitude. And it wasn't until a night I was walking and I just contemplated and thought about it, and I thought, like, is it worth to keep going? And I just sat there and contemplated about everything. And the one person that I still never want to disappoint, and I continued every day to try to make happy and make them proud of me, was my mom. And the only thing I think of, well, what would my mom think? What would my mom think of me if I was, if I told her that I was in this situation contemplating what I'm contemplating? And I know for a fact my mom would have been very disappointed in me and very, very mad that I even had this thought in my head. Because to my mom, it was never the answer. That was never the answer. It was, you man up and face these problems. So I sat and I talked to myself, and I talked myself out of it. And I walked home, and the next day I felt sadness upon myself because I contemplated something like that. But I felt like my mom was there to talk me out of what I contemplated. So going into that day, I wanted to be a better person. I wanted to forget about it all. I wanted to just act like it never happened. So I never told anybody that it happened, and other than, right now. And I lost myself in my work, and it was my goal to lose myself in my work. To overcome this, I wanted to become a better personal trainer. I wanted to give my clients an education in proper body movement and function and proper health and nutrition. And I lost myself in it. And I would come to the gym and I would sit and I would read research papers, and I would read studies of squat forms and studies of deadlifts, and seminars of doctors and seminars of nutritionists and physicians of, this type of diet and this type of eating and eating this, and, hours of sleeping and how this and this and that. And like, just to throw some basic stuff at you. But I got lost in the work because I wanted to make sure my clients would never feel alone. Especially with the second GVC fundraiser, Lift for a Cure, right around the corner. So I wanted to show the candidate we had, the candidate we were raising money for. I wanted to show them that you are as strong as you will ever be and we will have your back. So not only was I driven into trying to educate my clients and educate myself, but I had an event to throw. I had something to do, and that was throw a second Lift for a Cure, the GVC fundraiser for my mom, and that was to throw it and continue my mom's legacy, to continue what my mom started here. And that's when, I said the hell with it, and we're gonna go all in. And we went all in, and we threw an amazing second fundraiser for our candidate, and we had a very good outcome with competitors and cars for the car show, and raised a good amount of money to donate and give. So like, again, the Live for a Cure is we try to raise as much money to take the stress off of our cancer patient, so they're not stressing about bills, and they're not stressing about this or that. So we had a really good event. It was really good, but ultimately I overcame the depression of everything going on because of the fact that I just wanted to better myself in my profession of being a personal trainer and give proper nutrition and health advice. So when I look back at it and think, like the doctor told my mom, this could have been prevented if, proper health and nutrition, or proper fitness and exercise and proper dieting and stuff like that could have been prevented. I look back every day and I wake up every morning with that thought. I want to not have somebody be in the position my mom was in and not have to put them in the same shoes my mom was put in. So every morning I wake up with that thought of trying to help my clients, or trying to help just some random person who messages me on Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat with proper good information that will ultimately lead them into the better path and a righteous fitness, journey. So back to with my opening statement, I hope this video finds its way into someone's hands to enlighten you, to know that you're not alone with whatever you're going through. You have people that have gone through the same thing, and we suffer just as much as anybody else suffers with the loss of a family member or the feelings of inadequacy over something that we have no control over. But you're not alone, and you can always reach out. You can always DM me. You can reach out to me within these videos and comment. Maybe I left out a question that you wanted answered. Maybe there was something that I forgot to answer that maybe you wanted to hear. But again, please turn on those post notifications. Like the video, share the video, tag a friend that is going through something and just needs some sort of positive outlook or some positive reinforcement. So stay tuned for the next video. I hope you enjoyed it, maybe not enjoyed it, but I hope it did something for someone somewhere. And I will see you guys next time. Thanks.